Gonna call in and make sure it's still valid.
Failure to appeal where? I didn't have no court dates.
It's for DUI out of Pickens County.
Out of Pickens County?
32. Could you go and confirm that one?
The only DUI, I had a suspicion of a DUI a long time ago, and it was dismissed, so I don't know what they can be talking about.
The internet is exploding with rumors and shocking whispers tonight, and at the center of it all is none other than King Harris. The son of legendary rapper T.I. Reports are swirling that brutal jailhouse footage has surfaced, and fans say it shows a side of King the world was never supposed to see. The clip, allegedly leaked from inside the system, has people gasping, some calling it heartbreaking, others saying it completely shattered the stand-on-business image he's been building online. In this supposed footage, King isn't the confident, chest-out personality we've seen flexing on Instagram Live. Instead, insiders claim he looks rattled, cornered, and stripped of the bravado that made him a viral figure. And the streets? They can't stop talking. Did the young prince of hip-hop royalty finally meet a reality he couldn't talk his way out of? Or is this just another layer of media spin designed to break down his tough guy persona? What's undeniable is that fans are torn. Some feel sympathy, others mock his downfall, and many are asking the same haunting question. Is this the beginning of the end for King Harris's street credibility? They say the camera never lies, but when the whispers began spreading about King Harris, the world wasn't ready for what people claimed they saw. The supposed leaked jailhouse footage has become the talk of every street corner, every blog, and every fan page across the internet. And it wasn't just the fact that it allegedly showed King behind bars. It was how different he looked compared to the image he's been trying to sell for years. Fans who once watched him puff his chest out and yell that he was standing on business were left staring at a version of King they didn't even recognize. Inside the dim corridors of what was said to be Pickens County Jail, the atmosphere in that clip reportedly felt colder than stone. No bright lights, no filters, no beats blasting in the background. Just a young man pacing, his head lowered, his voice cracking every time he tried to argue with the officers around him. One insider described it like this: he didn't look like the same King from Instagram Live. He looked like a kid who just realized the internet can't save him. That one comment alone spread across social media like wildfire, sparking endless debates about whether the young man's entire persona was now unraveling. The supposed footage begins with King seated on a hard bench, his wrists in cuffs, his face shifting between anger and confusion. "Man, I ain't supposed to be here. Y'all know I got people that handle this," he mutters in a shaky tone, allegedly directed at the officers nearby. But instead of the defiance fans were used to, his words sounded more like pleas than threats. It was as if the pressure of the bars, the smell of concrete, and the weight of his father's legacy were all pressing down at once. This is where the drama deepened. Because if you listened closely to the whispers around the clip, officers could be heard explaining that his warrant had been valid and that his prior cases were catching up to him. One voice, calm yet firm, supposedly told him, "Son, this ain't Instagram. This is real life. You can't talk your way out of paper." Fans online immediately latched onto that line, replaying it, memeing it, and turning it into a catchphrase overnight. And the reactions? They were brutal. Timelines were flooded with clips of King in his flashy cars, throwing shade at critics, and then side-by-side comparisons with this alleged jailhouse moment where his voice trembled. One fan wrote, "The internet king just got dethroned by reality," while another said, "I ain't never seen someone go from tough talk to toddler tears so fast." The division was sharp. Some defended him, saying the system was designed to target him because of his family name. Others weren't buying it, claiming this was the natural crash that comes when you build an image on shaky foundations. But the story wasn't just about the footage itself. It was about the Harris family name. Because when you're the son of T.I., every move you make becomes amplified. Some claimed Tiny was devastated by the whispers of the footage. "She's a mother first," one supposed insider said, "and no mother wants to see her son portrayed like that, even if it's just rumors." In contrast, the chatter around T.I. was more complicated. People speculated whether he felt betrayed, embarrassed, or simply heartbroken. Fans recalled how, in past interviews, He had warned that he wasn't going to bail King out forever, that his son had to face the consequences of his actions. Now, with these whispers of leaked footage spreading, the question lingered. Would the King of the South really sit back and watch his own child become the internet's latest punchline? What made things even more dramatic was the alleged dialogue captured between King and an unseen inmate in the background. The voice was faint, but some swore they heard it. "Man, you don't belong here," the inmate supposedly told him. King's response, according to those who claimed they watched the tape, was defensive but trembling. "I do belong, I been out here." Fans argued endlessly about those words. Did he really believe he belonged in that world? Or was it a desperate attempt to hold on to the very image that seemed to be slipping away? As if the footage itself wasn't enough, social media detectives began tearing apart every detail. The bench, the walls, the sound of doors slamming. Everything was analyzed frame by frame. Some insisted it was real. Others called it staged. This could be a setup just to embarrass him, a fan argued on Twitter, because nothing about it adds up. But even the debate fueled the story, giving it more life, more oxygen, and more room to spiral into chaos. And then came the twist nobody expected. Bloggers began whispering that this wasn't just about King's behavior or his legal mess. It was about the ongoing battle inside the Harris household. Family drama was allegedly boiling over, with reports suggesting that T.I. and Tiny were clashing over how to handle their son's spiraling image. Tiny wants to protect him, shield him from the hate, one gossip page claimed. But T.I. thinks the only way King will learn is by hitting rock bottom. Those opposing views painted a picture of a divided home, one where fame and family bonds were being ripped apart by public scrutiny. As fans scrolled through endless commentary, another emotional layer unfolded. Many pointed out that King was about to become a father himself. How can he guide his own child? One fan asked, when he's still out here proving himself to strangers. That question cut deeper than the memes or the roasts. It touched on legacy, responsibility, and the painful cycle of trying to prove toughness in a world that often rewards self-destruction. Everywhere you looked, emotions were running high. On one side, fans mocked him as a suburban kid pretending to be hood. On the other, some begged for compassion, reminding the internet that behind the flashy cars and viral clips was still a young man who might be drowning under the weight of expectation. One fan comment summed it up best. "He's not just fighting the law, he's fighting himself." And that's the tragedy. Because whether the footage was authentic or not, whether the whispers were exaggerated or not, the damage to King's image was undeniable. People weren't seeing him as the untouchable heir to Southern hip-hop anymore. They were seeing him as a conflicted figure caught between privilege and pain. And as those whispers grew louder, the sense of betrayal deepened, not just for his fans, but for his family, his name, and the legacy he was supposed to uphold. The whispers didn't slow down after that first clip surfaced online. Instead, they multiplied, twisting into new rumors, new claims, and fresh angles of drama that made the situation even messier. Fans weren't just questioning King's street credibility anymore. They were questioning the very foundation of who he was as a person. The conversation turned from, "Is this clip real?" to, "Is King even built for this life at all?" People started digging into old live streams, resurfacing every single time he had shouted at critics that he was standing on business. One particular video of him threatening to pull up on someone was being stitched next to the supposed jail footage where he was allegedly asking for his lawyer in a nervous tone. The contrast was too much for the internet to ignore. One minute he's a soldier, next minute he's asking for daddy's money. One comment read, racking up thousands of likes. The ridicule cut deep, but the family drama cut even deeper. Insiders claimed that Tiny had broken down in tears after seeing the clip making rounds online. She couldn't handle it, one source whispered. To her, King is still her baby boy, not some internet villain. In stark contrast, people close to T.I. painted a picture of a father at war with his own instincts. On one hand, he wanted to shield his son from the cruelty of the internet. On the other, he felt King had brought this upon himself with his reckless behavior and constant need for validation. "I told him, T.I. was rumored to have said in a heated private conversation. You can't play with this life. You don't know what comes with it. According to those same whispers, King allegedly snapped back. You ain't never let me prove myself. You just want to make me live your life. If true, that exchange revealed more than just tension. It revealed a full-blown identity crisis. But the storm wasn't only brewing inside the Harris household. Bloggers and media personalities latched onto the story like sharks circling blood in the water. DJ Academics, known for never holding his tongue, went live and roasted the situation, saying, Y'all know what this is. He didn't get caught on no big case. This was a traffic warrant. But because it's King, we gon' treat it like it's a kingpin indictment. His sarcastic tone struck a chord and fans ran with it, clowning King for having the weakest charges turned into the biggest embarrassment. Others weren't laughing, though. Some fans expressed that the clip, real or not, was heartbreaking to watch. He looks scared, man, one fan tweeted. This ain't funny. That's still a human being in there. The debate raged on. Was the internet being too harsh, or was this just the price of fame and false bravado? And then, almost as if fate wanted to pour gasoline on the fire, a second set of whispers emerged. Claims began circulating that King had clashed with another inmate inside the jail. No footage surfaced to prove it, but stories spread quickly that he had been confronted by someone who mocked his privileged background. Ain't you T's son? The alleged inmate supposedly sneered. You don't belong here. According to those spreading the tale, King tried to stand his ground, shouting back, I ain't soft. I'm built for this. But the story ended with laughter echoing through the cell block, leaving fans to wonder if he had been humiliated even further behind those walls. The internet devoured the rumor. Memes popped up overnight, showing split screens of King at fancy events versus him supposedly being mocked in jail. Hashtags like suburban gangster and pacifier prince started trending, brutal reminders of the Falcons game moment when Tiny revealed her son had held onto a pacifier until the age of 12. It seemed like every old embarrassment was being recycled and weaponized against him. Meanwhile, his girlfriend's name started entering the mix. Gossip blogs claimed Jana Epps, the mother of his child, was overwhelmed with the circus surrounding her boyfriend. Some speculated that she was questioning her future with him, while others painted her as the quiet mastermind, pushing him deeper into chaos for her own benefit. One blog even alleged that T.I. had directly confronted her, accusing her of using King to secure access to the Harris family fortune. Though no evidence supported these claims, the rumor was enough to fuel hours of podcast discussions and endless fan theories. And then there was Boozy, who saw an opportunity to stir the pot and wasted no time. He reportedly went live and mocked King without mercy. That little boy ain't no street dude, Boozy allegedly said. Whole family wildin', and now we seeing what happens when you try to raise a gangster in a mansion. Fans called it one of the coldest shots yet, because Boozy wasn't just clowning King, he was attacking Ty's legacy as a father. The backlash against Boozy was split. Some agreed with his words, saying he only spoke the truth. Others blasted him for kicking a young man while he was down. Say what you want about King, one fan tweeted. But ain't no grown man supposed to be tearing down someone else's child like that? Yet Boozy's words stuck, repeated and reshared until they became part of the wider narrative. The entire situation highlighted a brutal reality. King wasn't just battling for respect in the streets. He was battling against the internet, against his own family drama, and against the shadows of his father's reputation. Each day seemed to bring a new twist, a new betrayal, or a new embarrassing detail dragged into the light. And perhaps the most chilling twist came from the speculation about Ty himself. Fans whispered that the rapper had privately pleaded with the system to protect his son, especially after the rumors of an inmate confrontation. That's when you know it's real, one fan wrote. Ty ain't playing tough anymore. He's just a father begging to keep his son safe. Whether or not those claims were true didn't even matter. They spread, they resonated, and they painted the picture of a father forced to confront the limits of his power. The streets were buzzing, fans were divided, and the blogs were thriving off every rumor. For King, the leaked footage and the aftermath weren't just a scandal, they were a mirror. reflecting every contradiction he had tried to hide. And as the debates raged on, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a bad week for King Harris. This was the unraveling of an image he had spent years trying to build. The chaos surrounding King Harris only grew louder with each passing day, and what began as whispers about leaked jail footage had now snowballed into a full-scale family crisis that played out in front of the entire world. The streets didn't let the conversation die, and the blogs refused to let the scandal slip off their headlines. Instead, new layers of drama were added, each one pulling the young man deeper into a storm he couldn't control. Rumors about King's time inside continued to surface. One claimed that after being transferred, he broke down in tears when the reality of extradition set in. They said he looked like he wanted to disappear, a supposed insider alleged. It wasn't anger anymore. It was fear. Whether true or not, that line spread across social media with lightning speed, fueling both mockery and sympathy. Some fans tweeted crying emojis, laughing at the thought of the tough-talking prince falling apart under pressure. Others defended him, reminding everyone that he was still just 20 years old, a kid under the crushing weight of fame, expectations, and mistakes. At the same time, the spotlight turned toward Ty and his reaction. Some gossip outlets claimed Ty had told his inner circle, "Let him sit, he needs to learn." Others whispered that the rapper was secretly pulling every string he could to soften the blow for his son. One narrative painted him as a strict father practicing tough love. Another framed him as a desperate dad begging the system to spare his child. The contrast in those stories added a new layer of tension, leaving fans debating which version of Ty was closer to the truth. And then came the Falcons game flashback. Social media resurrected that infamous clip where King and Ty argued in a luxury suite, with Ty putting his son in a headlock to calm him down. The internet used it as evidence of a strained relationship that had been brewing for years. Memes circulated with captions like, "He been humbled before, and he'll be humbled again." It wasn't just funny to some, it was symbolic. People saw it as proof that King had always been at war with his father's authority. And now the fight had spilled into the public arena in the worst possible way. Tiny, caught in the middle, allegedly begged for peace behind the scenes. "She just wants her family whole," a blog reported. "But she feels like every time King makes a mistake, the world blames her parenting." That detail struck a chord, because fans remembered Tiny exposing her son during the same Falcons incident, revealing he had been using a pacifier until he was 12 years old. The internet had never let him live that down, and now those old wounds were being reopened. The next twist came from Boozy, who doubled down on his earlier comments with even harsher words. "That boy ain't cut like that," he reportedly said on another live. "You can't buy street respect. You either live it or you don't." This wasn't just Boozy clowning for attention. It was him drawing a line in the sand about what it meant to be authentic. Fans latched onto the statement, repeating it until it became one of the loudest talking points of the scandal. King, meanwhile, allegedly tried to clap back through phone calls that somehow made their way online. In one supposed recording, his voice could be heard saying, "Y'all gon' see. I ain't no soft boy. I stand on mine." But instead of boosting his image, the leaked audio only fueled more ridicule. "Stand on mine? Bro, you couldn't even stand the booking process," one viral tweet mocked. It was brutal, but it showed how little control King had over the narrative. Every word, every slip, every rumor was being twisted against him. The fans weren't the only ones reacting. Behind the scenes, music insiders reportedly started distancing themselves. One producer, speaking anonymously to a gossip site, said, "No label wants to deal with this right now. It's too messy, too unstable. It's not about music anymore, it's about scandal." That statement stung, because King had once claimed he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps and make a mark in hip-hop. Now, instead of dropping tracks, he was dropping headlines. And not the kind that built careers. And if the supposed leaked footage wasn't damaging enough, bloggers pushed an even darker angle. Some claimed that other inmates had recorded snippets of King from their own hidden devices. Though nothing concrete surfaced, the rumor alone was enough to set the internet on fire. What if more clips drop? Fans asked, almost gleeful at the thought of another viral embarrassment. It became clear that the scandal wasn't just about one moment. It had opened the door to a series of humiliations that might continue haunting him indefinitely. The family's struggles reached new heights when reports surfaced of Ty and Tiny allegedly arguing over how to handle the crisis. Some insiders said Ty had drawn a line telling Tiny, "I can't keep saving him if you don't want to be saved." Tiny, in turn, was said to have snapped back, "He's our son, not your soldier. Stop treating him like a project." Whether those quotes were accurate or not, they spread like wildfire, painting a picture of a household divided. Fans began speculating that the couple's marriage itself was under strain, with some gossip sites even suggesting Tiny was contemplating divorce. And then came the bombshell twist that shook the fan base even further. Whispers circulated that King had retaliated against his father by leaking alleged secrets about T.I.'s personal life. One so-called dirty list supposedly contained names tied to alleged affairs, and though no evidence surfaced to prove it, the mere suggestion created chaos online. Tiny's name trended as fans debated whether she would finally walk away from her marriage if the rumors were true. For King, the whispers painted him not just as a troubled young man, but as someone willing to betray his own blood in the middle of a crisis. The streets couldn't stop talking. Some fans said, "This is beyond embarrassing. This is family war." Others called it karma, arguing that T.I.'s tough love approach had finally backfired, pushing his son to lash out in the most public and destructive way possible. At this point, the narrative had shifted entirely. It wasn't about one leaked clip anymore. It was about a family falling apart in real time, with every fight, every rumor, and every betrayal fueling the spectacle. King's persona, once built on bravado and confidence, was now crumbling under the weight of humiliation and doubt. The internet wasn't just questioning his credibility, it was questioning his entire existence as the heir to Southern hip-hop royalty. And the tragedy? No one could tell if there was a way back, because every move he made, every word he spoke, and every rumor that surfaced only seemed to pull him further into the abyss. The storm that engulfed King Harris had reached a point where it felt like every day brought a new blow, a new rumor, or a new humiliation that kept his name spinning through headlines. By now, fans weren't even asking whether the jail footage was real or fake anymore. They were asking what would be left of King's reputation once the dust finally settled. The spectacle had grown beyond him. It had become about his family, his legacy, and the brutal reminder that the internet never forgets. Reports began surfacing that King was struggling to adjust after his release. Instead of doubling down on music or proving his critics wrong, whispers claimed he was spending nights ranting about betrayal, insisting that people were plotting against him. One insider supposedly overheard him saying, "They don't want me to win, they just want to see me fall because of who my daddy is." The tone wasn't confident. It was paranoid, wounded, and fragile. Fans debated whether he was finally cracking under pressure, or if he was using paranoia as an excuse to mask the mistakes he couldn't outrun. The family drama escalated further. Bloggers claimed Tiny was quietly trying to pull King closer, telling friends she feared losing her son completely. In contrast, Ty was allegedly pulling back more than ever, telling his circle, "I gave him every tool. If he won't use them, I can't fight his battles for him." The split between them painted a heartbreaking picture. On one side, a mother desperate to protect. On the other, a father resigned to letting his son learn the hard way. Social media seized on this narrative. Fans were now divided into camps. Team Tiny, who believed compassion was the only answer, and Team Ty, who insisted that enabling King would only make things worse. Debates raged online, with heated arguments breaking out in comment sections and forums. Some said, "If T don't step in, he'll regret it forever," while others argued, "Nah, King gotta crash and burn before he understands life ain't no game." The fact that strangers were now choosing sides in his family dynamic only deepened the chaos. And then, Boozy delivered another devastating shot. He allegedly claimed during a club appearance, "That boy ain't even raising his own kid right now. He too busy chasing clout." Whether true or not, the words stung because they touched on the one thing that could have helped King rebuild his image: fatherhood. Instead of being celebrated as a young man stepping into responsibility, he was painted as absent, distracted, and lost in his own ego. Boosie's commentary turned into a viral soundbite, repeated in memes, TikToks, and Twitter threads until it was impossible to escape. The pressure mounted when gossip sites started speculating about his relationship with Jana Epps. Some claimed she had distanced herself, fed up with the constant scandals. Others pushed the opposite story, saying she was sticking by him because of the potential financial security tied to the Harris name. Neither story was confirmed, but both added more fuel to the fire. And when whispers about her allegedly siphoning money from him reappeared, fans didn't hesitate to drag her into the mess, calling the couple toxic and the new hood soap opera. But the most shocking twist came when rumors spread of a supposed leaked list of King's own mistakes, allegations that he had secretly been cooperating with law enforcement at some point. Though nothing was ever proven, the claim itself was enough to ignite a storm. In the streets, there's no greater stain than being labeled a snitch, and even the suggestion of it had fans calling his entire persona into question. Some mocked him, others defended him. But one thing was clear: his credibility, already fragile, had now been shredded beyond repair. The fallout reached a boiling point when fans began openly questioning Ty's legacy. Instead of talking about his music, his business ventures, or his impact on the culture, conversations revolved around whether he had failed as a father. How, "You the king of the South, but your own son can't stand tall?" one fan tweeted. Another added, "He raised a brand, not a man." These comments stung not just for King, but for Ty himself, who had built his career on authenticity, strength, and resilience. Now, his family drama was overshadowing everything else. Tiny, for her part, allegedly tried to soften the blow by going live and defending her son. "He's young, he's learning," she reportedly said. "Y'all so quick to judge, but y'all don't know what it's like to raise kids in the spotlight." Her words drew mixed reactions. Some fans applauded her for standing by her child. Others dismissed it as more excuses, saying King had been given every advantage in life and still chose to throw it away. As weeks turned into months, the scandal showed no signs of slowing down. Rumors of a sentencing, whispers of more leaked, footage and speculation about King's mental health swirled together into a non-stop storm. Every time the family tried to move forward, another piece of gossip pulled them back. By September 2025, the situation had spiraled so far out of control that even longtime fans admitted they didn't know what to believe anymore. The tragedy was undeniable. King had started out as the heir to one of hip-hop's most respected families, with every door open for him. But instead of building a legacy on music, business, or artistry, his name had become tied to scandal, ridicule, and dysfunction. His story was no longer just about one leaked clip. It had become a cautionary tale about the dangers of chasing an image you can't maintain, about the brutal intersection of privilege and street credibility, and about how quickly the internet can turn someone into a punchline. And yet, amid all the drama, one question refused to die. Could King Harris bounce back? Could he use the pain, the humiliation, and the endless public scrutiny as fuel to reinvent himself? Or was this the point of no return, the moment where his story would forever be defined not by success, but by downfall? Whatever the answer, fans kept watching, waiting, and dissecting every new whisper, because like it or not, the saga of King Harris had become one of the most gripping spectacles in hip-hop drama. As the smoke clears on this whirlwind of rumors, whispers, and leaked footage, one truth remains impossible to deny. King Harris has become one of the most polarizing young figures in hip-hop today. What started as a supposed jailhouse clip has now unraveled into a storm of family tension, public humiliation, and endless debates about authenticity. Fans have watched his image shift from bold and confident to shaken and uncertain, and the contrast has left many questioning if his stand-on-business persona was ever more than an illusion. The Harris family, once admired for their power and influence, now find themselves under the harshest spotlight of all, the spotlight of public scrutiny. Ty, torn between tough love and fatherly instinct. Tiny, desperate to shield her child, and King himself, caught between privilege and pressure, have given the world a drama bigger than any reality show. And yet, behind the memes, the commentary, and the endless gossip, lies a young man wrestling with identity, responsibility, and survival in a world that demands authenticity above all else. So where does the story go from here? Does King Harris take this pain and transform it into purpose, proving his doubters wrong and carving his own path? Or does he continue down the same road, where every misstep becomes a headline and every mistake becomes a meme? The internet has already chosen sides, but the final chapter hasn't been written yet. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe King Harris can bounce back? Or is his reputation already shattered beyond repair? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more breaking stories and viral drama, and click the bell so you never miss an update. Your opinion matters, and trust me, this conversation is only just beginning.